General legal allegations. At all times relevant to this indictment, a state of armed conflict existed in Croatia and Bosnia and Herzegovina. A nexus existed between the state of armed conflict and the alleged crimes in Croatia, Bosnia and Herzegovina, and parts of Vojvodina, Serbia. At all times relevant to this indictment, Vojislav Seselj was required to abide by the laws and customs governing the conduct of armed conflicts. Conduct charged as crimes against humanity was part of a widespread or systematic attack directed against the Croat, Muslim, and other non-Serb civilian population within large areas of Croatia, Bosnia and Herzegovina, and Vojvodina, Serbia. The charges. Count 1, persecutions. From on or about the 1st of August 1991 until at least September 1993, Vojislav Seselj, acting individually or in concert with known and unknown members of the joint criminal enterprise, planned, ordered, instigated, committed, or otherwise aided and abetted in the planning, preparation, or execution of persecutions of Croat, Muslim, and other non-Serb civilian populations in the territories of the SAO Western Slavonia and the SAO SBWS, Slavonia, Baranja, and Western Srem, and in the municipalities of Bosanski Shamac and Zvornik in Bosnia and Herzegovina and parts of Vojvodina in Serbia. Throughout this period, Serb forces comprising JMA and subsequently the VJ units, local Serb TO units, which were subsequently transferred into the Army of the RSK, the SVK, and the Army of Republika Srpska, the VRS, and TO units from Serbia and Montenegro, local Serb and Republic of Serbia police units, and volunteer and paramilitary units, including the volunteers recruited and or instigated by Vojislav Seselj, act and took control of towns and villages in these territories. After the takeover, these Serb forces, in cooperation with the local Serb authorities, established a regime of persecutions designed to drive the non-Serb civilian population from these territories. These persecutions were committed on political, racial, and religious grounds and included A. Extermination or murder of many Croat, Muslim, and other non-Serb civilians, including women and elderly persons, in the municipality of Vukovar and the villages of Vocen, Hum, Bukane, and Kraskovic in Croatia, in the municipalities of Bosanski Shamac and Zvornik in Bosnia and Herzegovina. B. The prolonged and routine imprisonment and confinement of Croat, Muslim, and other non-Serb civilians in the detention facilities within Croatia and Bosnia and Herzegovina, including prison camps in Vukovar, in and near Vocen, and in Bosanski Shamac and Zvornik. C. Establishment and perpetuation of inhumane living conditions for Croat, Muslim, and other non-Serb civilian detainees within the detention facilities referred to. B. The repeated torture, beatings, and killings of Croat, Muslim, and other non-Serb civilian detainees in the said detention facilities. E. The prolonged and frequent forced labor of Croat, Muslim, and other non-Serb civilians detained in the said detention facilities or under house arrest in their respective homes in Vukovar, Vocen, Bosanski Shamac, and Zvornik. Forced labor included digging of graves, loading of ammunition for the Serb forces, digging of trenches, and other forms of manual labor at the front lines. F. Sexual assaults of Croat, Muslim, and other non-Serb civilians by Serb soldiers during capture and in the detention facilities. G. The imposing of restrictive and discriminatory measures against the Croat, Muslim, and other non-Serb civilian populations, including persons in Vocen in Croatia and Bosanski Shamac and Zvornik in Bosnia and Herzegovina, and in parts of Vojvodina, Serbia, such as restriction of movement, removal from positions of authority in local government institutions and the police, dismissal from jobs, denial of medical care, and arbitrary searches of homes. H. The torture, beating, and robbing of Croat, Muslim, and other non-Serb civilians. I. The deportation or forcible transfer of tens of thousands of Croat, Muslim, and other non-Serb civilians from the territories as specified above and from parts of Vojvodina, Serbia. J. The deliberate destruction of homes, other public and private property, cultural institutions, historic monuments, and sacred sites of the Croat, Muslim, and other non-Serb civilian populations in the municipality of Vukovar and in Voćin in Croatia and in the municipalities of Bosanski Šamac and Zvornik in Bosnia and Herzegovina. By his participation in these acts, Vojislav Seselj committed, count 1, persecutions on political, racial, or religious grounds, crime against humanity, punishable under Articles 5H and 7.1 of the Statute of the Tribunal. Counts 2 to 4, extermination and murder. From on or about the 1st August 1991 until June 1992 in the territory of the SAO SBWS in Vukovar and the SAO Western Slavonia in Voćin, from on or about the 1st of March 1992 until at least September 1993 in the municipality of Zvornik in Bosnia and Herzegovina, and from on or about the 1st of April 1992 until at least September 1993 in the municipality of Bosanski Šamac in Bosnia and Herzegovina, Vojislav Seselj, acting individually or in concert with other known and unknown members of a joint criminal enterprise, planned, ordered, instigated, committed, or otherwise aided and abetted in the planning, preparation, or execution of the extermination and murder of Croat, Muslim, and other non-Serb civilians. Croatia, the SAO Western Slavonia. Beginning in August 1991, Serb forces, including the volunteer units, known as Šešelj's men, were in control of Voćin. In November 1991, Vojislav Seselj visited Voćin and addressed the volunteers. Cited by Vojislav Seselj's speeches, the volunteer units, in particular Šešelj's men, started burning houses of Croat citizens and killing Croat civilians in the villages of Voćin, Ljum, Bokane, and Kraskovic until their withdrawal from the region of 13 December 1991. They went from house to house and killed whomever they found, in total 43 civilians. Some of those who hid survived. SAO SBWS Vukovar. In November 1991, while Serb forces fought to take over Vukovar, Vojislav Seselj visited the town and publicly pronounced, "Not one Ustaša must leave Vukovar alive," thus instigating the killing of Croats. On or about 20 November 1991, as part of the overall persecution campaign, Serb military forces, including members of the JNA and TO, and volunteer and paramilitary forces under the command, control, or influence of the JNA, the TO, SBWS, and other participants of the joint criminal enterprise, including volunteers recruited and or incited by Vojislav Seselj, removed approximately 400 Croats and other non-Serbs from Vukovar Hospital in the aftermath of the Serb takeover of the city. Approximately 300 of these non-Serbs were transported to the JNA barracks and then to the Ufčara farm located about 5 kilometers south of Vukovar. There, members of the Serb forces beat and tortured the victims for hours. During the evening of 20 November 1991, the soldiers transported the victims in groups of 10 to 20 to a remote execution site between the Ufčara farm and Grabovo, where they shot and killed approximately 255 non-Serbs from Vukovar Hospital. The bodies were buried in a mass grave. After Serb forces took control of Vukovar on 18 November 1991, over 1,000 civilians gathered at Velepromet facility. Some were compelled to go there by Serb forces, and others went voluntarily seeking protection. By 19 November 1991, approximately 2,000 people were gathered inside Velepromet facility. The JNA considered about 800 of these persons to be prisoners of war. By the evening of 19 November 1991, shortly after the JNA began to transfer the alleged prisoners of war to their Sremska Mitrovica detention facility in Serbia, Serb forces, including volunteers, recruited and or incited by Vojislav Seselj, separated a number of individuals from the alleged group of prisoners of war. They took these selected individuals out of the Velopromet facility and killed them. The bodies of some of those killed were transported to the Ovčara farm and buried there in the mass grave, while the bodies of 6 other victims were left lying on the ground behind the Velopromet facility. Bosnia and Herzegovina, Zvornik. In March 1992, Vojislav Seselj gave a speech at a rally in Mali's Zvornik, located across the Drina River from Zvornik. Vojislav Seselj said, "Dear Chetnik brothers, especially you across the Drina River, you are the bravest ones. We are going to clean Bosnia of pagans and show them a road which will take them to the east, where they belong," thus instigating the persecution of non-Serbs in Zvornik. In April 1992, Serb forces, including volunteers known as Šešelj's men and Arkan's Tigers, attacked and took control of the town of Zvornik and surrounding villages. During the attack, Serb forces killed many non-Serb civilians. On or about 9 April 1992, members of Arkan's unit executed 20 Bosnian Muslim and Croat men and boys in Zvornik town. Following the takeover, non-Serbs were routinely detained, beaten, tortured, and killed. Hundreds of non-Serb civilians were detained in or near Zvornik from April to July 1992 in the Standard Shoe Factory, Ciglena Factory, or Ekonomia Farm, the Novi Istvor building, and the Čelopek Dom Kulture. On or about 12 May 1992, at the Ekonomia Farm, Serb forces, including the leader of a group of Šešelj's men, beat to death a detainee named Nesib Datovic. In May 1992, Serb forces killed 2 non-Serb male detainees at the Novi Istvor building. Between 1st and 5th June 1992, Serb forces killed more than 150 Bosnian Muslim males at Karaka Technical School. Between 7 and 9 June 1992, Serb forces killed more than 150 detainees at Giro's slaughterhouse. Serb forces killed more than 40 non-Serb male detainees between the 1st and 26th June 1992 at Čelopek Dom Kulture. Bosanski Shamac. In April 1992, Serb forces, including volunteers known as Šešelj's men, attacked and took control of the town of Bosanski Shamac and surrounding villages. Following the takeover, hundreds of non-Serbs were routinely detained, beaten, and tortured in the police headquarters building, the SUP, the Territorial Defense Building, the TO, the primary and secondary schools, as well as the warehouse of the agricultural cooperative located in Skorvina, to the southwest of the town of Bosanski Shamac, and dozens were killed. On or about 7 May 1992, 2 leaders of the unit of Šešelj's men shot and killed 18 men and boys in the warehouse of the agricultural cooperative in Skorvina. By his participation in these acts, Vojislav Seselj committed Count 2, extermination, a crime against humanity, punishable under Articles 5b and 7.1 of the Statute of the Tribunal. Count 3, murder, a crime against humanity, punishable under Articles 5a and 7.1 of the Statute of the Tribunal. Count 4, murder, a violation of the laws or customs of war, as recognized by Common Article 3.1a of the Geneva Conventions of 1949, punishable under Articles 3 and 7.1 of the Statute of the Tribunal. Counts 5 to 9. Imprisonment, torture, other inhumane acts, and cruel treatment. From August 1991 until September 1992, Vojislav Seselj, acting individually or in concert with other known and unknown members of a joint criminal enterprise, planned, ordered, instigated, committed, or otherwise aided and abetted in the planning, preparation, or execution of the imprisonment under inhumane conditions of Muslim, Croat, and other non-Serb civilians in the territories listed above. Serb military forces comprising JNA and subsequently the VJ, Croatian and Bosnian Serb TO units, which were subsequently transformed into the Army of the RSK, the SVK, and the Army of the Republika Srpska, the VRS. Volunteer and paramilitary units, including those volunteer units recruited and/or incited by Vojislav Seselj, acting in cooperation with local police staff and local Serb authorities, captured and detained hundreds of Croat, Muslim, and other non-Serb civilians. They were detained in the following short and long-term detention facilities. A. The Velepromet Warehouse, Vukovar, SAO SBWS, November 1991, run by JNA, approximately 1,200 detainees. B. The Ovčara Farm, near Vukovar, SAO SBWS, November 1991, run by JNA, approximately 300 detainees. C. The basement of the bank building in Vojislav in October 1991, several detainees. The Lager Sekulinci near Vojislav in August 1991, 3 detainees. E. The Standard Shoe Factory, the Ciglana Factory, the Ekonomia Farm, the Novi Izvor Building, and the Čelopek Dom Kultur in Zvornik, Bosnia and Herzegovina, between April and July 1992, hundreds of detainees. F. The Police Headquarters Building, the SUP, Territorial Defense Building, the TO, the primary and secondary schools in Bosanski Shamac, and the warehouse and the agricultural cooperative in Crkvina, near Bosanski Shamac in Bosnia and Herzegovina, between April and September 1992, hundreds of detainees. Living conditions in these detention facilities were brutal and characterized by inhumane treatment, overcrowding, starvation, forced labor, inadequate medical care, and systematic physical and psychological assault, including torture, beatings, and sexual assault. By his participation in these acts, Vojislav Seselj committed, count 5, imprisonment, a crime against humanity, punishable under Articles 5E and 7.1 of the Statute of the Tribunal. Count 6, torture, a crime against humanity, punishable under Articles 5F and 7.1 of the Statute of the Tribunal. Count 7, inhumane acts, a crime against humanity, punishable under Articles 5I and 7.1 of the Statute of the Tribunal. Count 8, torture, a violation of the laws or customs of war, as recognized by Common Article 3.1a of the Geneva Conventions of 1949, punishable under Articles 3 and 7.1 of the Statute of the Tribunal. Count 9, cruel treatment, a violation of the laws or customs of war, as recognized by Common Article 3.1a of the Geneva Conventions of 1949, punishable under Articles 3 and 7.1 of the Statute of the Tribunal. Counts 10 to 11, deportation, forcible transfer. From on or about the 1st August 1991 until May 1992, in the SAOs in Croatia and the RSK, from on or about the 1st March 1992 until at least September 1993 in Bosnia and Herzegovina, and in May 1992 in parts of Vojvodina, Serbia, Vojislav Seselj, acting individually or in concert with other known and unknown members of the joint criminal enterprise, planned, instigated, committed, or otherwise aided and abetted in the planning, preparation, or execution of the deportation or forcible transfer Croat, Muslim, and other non-Serb civilian populations from their legal domiciles in Vukovar in November 1991 and in Vojislav in November and December 1991, in the municipality of Zvornik in Bosnia and Herzegovina between March 1992 and September 1993, in the municipality of Bosanski Shamac in Bosnia and Herzegovina between April 1992 and September 1993, and in parts of Vojvodina, Serbia, including the village of Hrtkovci in May 1992. In order to achieve this objective, Serb forces comprising JNA and subsequently the VJ, local Croatian and Bosnian Serb TO units, which were subsequently transformed into the Army of the RSK, the SVK, and the Army of Republika Srpska, and those from the Republic of Serbia and Montenegro, and volunteers and paramilitaries, including the White Eagles and Dusan Silni, as well as volunteers recruited and or incited by Vojislav Seselj, in cooperation with local and Serbian police units, surrounded Croatian and Bosnian towns and villages, and demanded that the inhabitants surrender their weapons, including legally owned hunting rifles. Then the towns and villages were attacked or otherwise taken over, even those where the inhabitants had complied with the demands. These attacks were intended to compel the population to flee. After taking control of the towns and villages, Serb forces sometimes rounded up the remaining Croat, Muslim, and other non-Serb civilian populations and forcibly transported them to locations within Croatia or Bosnia and Herzegovina and not controlled by Serbs, or deported them to locations outside Croatia or Bosnia and Herzegovina, in particular Serbia and Montenegro. On other occasions, Serb forces, in cooperation with the local Serb authorities, imposed restrictive and discriminatory measures on the non-Serb population and engaged in a campaign of terror designed to drive them out of the territory. The majority of the non-Serbs that remained were deported or forcibly transferred from their homes on a later date. In May 1992, Vojislav Seselj came to Vojvodina and met with his associates in the SRS. Vojislav Seselj instructed his associates to contact non-Serbs and threaten them with death if they did not leave the area. On 6 May 1992, Vojislav Seselj gave an inflammatory speech in the village of Hrtkovci, Vojvodina, calling for the expulsion of Croats from the area and reading a list of individual Croat residents who should leave for Croatia. After this speech, a campaign of ethnic cleansing directed at non-Serbs, particularly Croats, began in Hrtkovci. During the next 3 months, many non-Serbs were harassed, threatened with death, and intimidated, forcing them to leave the area. Homes of Croats were looted and occupied by Serbs. Serb families who had been displaced from other parts of the former Yugoslavia often occupied the homes of those non-Serbs who were compelled to leave. By his participation in these acts, Vojislav Seselj committed Count 10, deportation, a crime against humanity punishable under Articles 5D and 7.1 of the Statute of the Tribunal. Count 11, inhumane acts, forcible transfers, crime against humanity punishable under Articles 5I and 7.1 of the Statute of the Tribunal. Counts 12 to 15, wanton destruction, plunder of public or private property, and unlawful attacks of civilian objects. From on or about the 1st August 1991 until May 1992 in the territories of the SAO in Croatia and the RSK, from on or about the 1st March 1992 until at least September 1993 in the municipality of Zvornik in Bosnia and Herzegovina, and from on or about the 1st of April 1992 until at least September 1993 in the municipality of Bosanski Shamac in Bosnia and Herzegovina. Vojislav Seselj, acting individually or in concert with other known and unknown members of the joint criminal enterprise, planned, ordered, instigated, committed, or otherwise aided and abetted in the planning, preparation, or execution of the wanton destruction and plunder of public and private property of the Croat, Muslim, and other non-Serb populations, acts which were not justified by military necessity. This intentional wanton destruction and plunder included the plunder and destruction of homes and religious and cultural buildings and took place in the following towns and villages. SAO, SBWS, Vukovar, hundreds of homes destroyed. The SAO, Western Slavonia, Vocin and Hume, dozens of homes and Catholic church destroyed. And Bosnia and Herzegovina, Bosanski Shamac, hundreds of homes and a mosque destroyed. And Zvornik, hundreds of homes and dozens of mosques destroyed. By his participation in these acts, Vojislav Seselj committed, count 12, wanton destruction of villages or devastation not justified by military necessity, a violation of the laws or customs of war, punishable under Articles 3b and 7.1 of the Statute of the Tribunal. Count 13, destruction or willful damage done to institutions dedicated to religion or education, a violation of the laws or customs of war, punishable under Articles 3d and 7.1 of the Statute of the Tribunal. Counts 14, plunder of public or private property, a violation of the laws or customs of war, punishable under Articles 3e and 7.1 of the Statute of the Tribunal.
Thank you. May I ask you to stop for a moment? We have to respect the rights of those assisting the chamber, especially the interpreters, and for this reason we cannot proceed longer than 90 minutes in a portion. It's already now foreseeable that we can't conclude the reading out of this entire indictment within these 90 minutes. Therefore, it is necessary to have a break now, and afterwards we will immediately, it's a break of 30 minutes, we will continue with the reading out of the entire indictment as requested by you, Dr. Šešelj.
Yes, but I have several objections regarding the interpretation, so I would ask you to eliminate those errors during the break, because I don't understand some words. I don't know what the word opće means, poprilično, then točka, a word I heard several times. I don't know what Zapadni Srijem means. I assume it's a geographic term, but I don't know in which country in the world it is situated. I don't know what obrana means, or obrane. I don't know what...
May I interrupt you, Dr. Šešelj? I can understand we have often problems with concrete translation of certain terms. This is nothing special. We have to come back to this later. After the break, when we have read out, as requested by you, the entire indictment, we can come back to these questions. The trial stays adjourned until 10 minutes to 3.
All rise. We will away.